We are back with the final debate for your elections 2015. It is the biggest role going, and I'm sure it's the one you have all been waiting for. Please can we welcome your presidential candidates to the stage for 2015. Hello, if you'd just like to quickly introduce yourselves and why you're running. Ben, if you want to go first.
Hi, I am Ben. I am a second-year law student, and since I've arrived at Southampton University, I have done it all, really. I've been an events rep, I've done JCRs, I've worked for most of the media outlets, I've joined sports clubs, and I'm just really keen on SUSU. So I figured I would run for president because I've seen all the work that goes into it, and I think the lack of engagement this year is really unfortunate because so many people work so hard, and I want to do something about that. I want to fix it.
Okay, and Sebastian?
Hi, my name is Sebastian Vogelpoel. I'm a third-year history and philosophy student. I'm also president of the Model United Nations Society, and I sit on the committee for debating. I'm passionate about SUSU. I'm passionate about the university and getting involved with as many societies as possible. And it's partly out of disillusionment in founding a society with how SUSU works and being the head of a society that I want to run because I see those problems and I would really like to change that and make SUSU something that's bolder and more accessible to all.
Okay, brilliant. So starting off with a question I think a lot of people would like to know the answer to. What does the president do? Ben?
The president does a lot, and a lot of it is overseeing the things other people do. But the president is the forward face of the sabbatical team, I think, and they coordinate the roles everybody does. They're the first among equals, first port of call, and I think a lot of it is image. I think the president is, when you think of a SAB, unless you have a specific issue, the president's who you're going to, the president is their front man, and then there's all of the day-to-day, like overseeing trustee subcommittees. Yeah, a lot, but mostly coordination.
And Sebastian?
I think the president, first and foremost, is someone who has to support all the people who are around him. So obviously, if they don't do well, they are the person who has to take the rap and try and help them and so forth. So they have to be someone who is willing to involve themselves in lots of different areas, but not necessarily to take a stranglehold. So it's really a position about trying to help other people thrive and leading by example when you need to. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're both saying that the role of president is basically helping everyone else with their own roles and not really having a role yourself. Do you agree with that, Sebastian?
I mean, I think it's important, and I think Ben would agree with you on this, that it's very important that a president has some sort of vision. But that shouldn't take away from the vision of others, but rather it should work in integration with them. A president needs to have some kind of universal ideas. So mine, I want to create sort of a more open university that's easier for people to understand. I want to create a more aspirational sort of university, and I want to create a more supportive environment for students who don't do so well. And I think within that, I cover all the different VP roles, so it's also about me encouraging them to do the best they can so I can achieve what I've set out to do in my manifesto.
Okay, and Ben?
The president definitely has a role of their own, and I think it's to set the direction. I think the president really is the one leading the charge, and when I say coordinating, I don't mean that they have no role themselves, but to confer with the other VPs. I mean that they are the one setting where SUSU is going, looking at its broader aims. I think it's up to the president to really consider what SUSU does, whether it's a service or an entertainment hub, or whether it's a welfare hub, or how much of a balance to strike between all of these things.
Okay, thank you. So we've got £500,000 for a feasibility study into refurbishing the Union building. What would your main priority be in that study?
Well, personally, I hope to do, ideally I would like to do as little as possible. I'm the president of the society, but I want to encourage more people to do things with this Union building. So we have a fabulous opportunity here. It's a huge building. I mean, there are some things. Obviously, we're both going to say space, because that's the obvious one. But there's lighting that can be improved, but beyond that, I think it's really about engaging with students. Young students, artists, designers, and so forth. Let them take charge of how they want the bridge to look, about how they want the downstairs department to look, because ultimately, it's about them, and doing that encourages them to be part of SUSU and to make SUSU a more dynamic organization.
Okay, and Ben?
I agree with Sebastian. I think it is about them, but I think the reason people elect you as president is because they believe you know what they want. So The space issue is obviously a big one, and part of that, the main thing I would do is to look into building a student theatre, which sounds very PA-focused, but I think it's attractive to incoming students. We're a Russell Group university. We should have one of the strongest and some of the most facilities of students' unions in the country. And Bristol have their students' union have spent a lot of money on creating performance space. And the theatre as well would open up the Cube to students' groups who use that when it's like trying to... Zumba, for example, have struggled to find space in there because conferences get held, and it could move things to there. In the down season, it would provide conference space for SUSU and therefore profit to come in. I just think if we're going to spend money looking at what's feasible, a theatre would meet the needs of a lot of our student groups and free up space.
Okay, thank you. So generally, our relationship with the university is a good one. It's quite strong. So how would you ensure you keep a good working relationship whilst ensuring the independence of the union is respected at the same time? Ben, if you want to go first.
It's important to remember that SUSU and the university have a lot of mutual interests: student welfare, employability, cranking out students who have good degrees, but also a lot on their CV to show for it. And so if you put those mutual interests at the centre of our relationship with the university, I think that whenever there is conflict, the independence can be maintained, definitely, but you can work towards it together. And it doesn't need to be confrontational. We don't need to sacrifice independence, and we don't need to jeopardize our relationship with the university. I think that we need to keep channels open and make sure that students are respected by the university, and they can't suppress that, but that SUSU is leading the student voice to the university.
Okay, and Sebastian?
I think, of course, we need to be amenable with the university and try and encourage as good a relationship as possible. That said, the student union works with the university rather than for it. And when we're dealing with the university, it's also important to think, what part of the university are we dealing with? Are we dealing with the lecturers? Are we dealing with the enabling service? Are we dealing with sort of finance committees? Because different areas require kind of different things. So in some areas, you might have more problem. I mean, for the student theatre, you'd have encouragement massively from one area, but the finance committee might not be as keen on that idea. It depends on which different areas. We want to create a relationship that's dynamic, but ultimately is about the students and not just about what the university wants.
Okay. So being president is the biggest role available. It is quite a daunting challenge, I'm sure. So what experience do you think that you have that makes you worthy of the role, and how would you use that differently to what's been used before, Ben?
The experience I think I have is just having covered such a broad range of the zones. I've done media, I've done AU, I've been on committees in media and AU and with JCRs for the communities. I've taken part in rag weeks and things, and so I've experienced firsthand the frustrations that come with a students' union that doesn't communicate your goals, that doesn't communicate on behalf of your club. I've seen where engagement is lacking. I've worked for the SUSU communications crew, and so I deal firsthand with complaints coming to the Facebook page to do with the way that we speak to our students. I think that all this experience has just motivated me to stop sitting around and being a keyboard warrior about how awful SUSU is, and actually do something to make it better.
And Sebastian?
Absolutely. I think I'm the right person for this because I'm someone who's tried something new. I've founded a society, president of that. I've tried to get involved with as many societies as I can over my period of university, and frankly, quite often I have not seen SUSU there. My VP in my area of sustainability, I did not see them coming to my university, and I think there needs to be more of an effort for SUSU to connect with its community. I know SUSU is busy, I know SUSU does good things, but I want to see more of them involved with the societies, which is the lifeblood of this university and really helps the whole university and all its students go forward. And that's what I'm all about.
Okay. So how would you both describe yourselves? Would you say you are a leader or a director? Sebastian?
I think I'm a leader. I think what leading means, though, is inspiring other people. It's not primarily a singular focus. You want other people to look on you as an example, to rely on you, to know that by having you there, they can do the best they possibly can. So I think, yeah, it's about encouraging others to take charge and be as fully committed and do the best they possibly can for themselves.
And Ben?
Mine's a bit of a cheeky non-answer, because I think leader really absorbs the role of director too. A director sets the direction, and a leader knows that direction, and they've helped set it as well, but they take people there with them. So if you imagine that all the SABs are all working towards one goal, the leaders are the person at the front, setting the path, helping them get there. They inspire others to follow, rather than standing and clicking your fingers and saying, I want this done, I want this done. You work with everybody in the team, and you take them all forward together at the same pace to make sure that no one's left behind, there's no one area that's struggling. A leader is there, whereas a director, I think, is sort of above, looking down. So I'd say I'm a leader.
Okay, well, it's very interesting that you've both picked leader, because in the rules for being president, which is quite an important thing for you to maybe have looked at, it says that you should be a leader and a director. Have you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think I just did. I said the leader absorbs the role of director as well. I think a leader is a director, but that leader is a more palatable term for the two roles unified.
If I don't like the word director, it sounds like I'm telling other people where they should be, how they should be. I think immediately sort of Kubrick, you have to be there, you position there, do it again, do it again. I think it's far better to allow people to do their own sort of things, because I think they're perfectly capable of doing it.
Lovely, thank you. So just 5 years ago, the union was basically a social club for JCRs. Where do you see the union in 5 years' time, so 2020 then?
I see the union at the very forefront of national student unions. I see it with facilities that rival professional standards. I see it establishing relationships with our satellite campuses down at the NOC, at WSA, even to Malaysia. I see it having a reputation for being fantastic for welfare. And I think one thing I really want to push and that I really see is students who succeed at SUSU putting that back towards SUSU, taking the success for themselves. But when SUSU succeeds, everyone's a bit hush-hush, and I want SUSU to be known not just in Southampton, not just in Hampshire, but nationally as producing some of the industry leaders and some of the foremost sports people and performing artists in the country.
Sebastian?
SUSU is already a great organisation. It needs to communicate itself better, but I'm not going to make a 5-year plan when I only have 1 year. And I have a strict manifesto that I feel sort of deals with set problems that are here. And I'm hopefully, by putting them forward to next year and then creating some kind of legacy, for lack of a better term, that could be followed, then that can help the next person do that. But I think it's important for every leader to take this opportunity to be as creatively minded, as open as possible, and do something daring with SUSU, because we have this position of independence. We're not part of the NUS, so we can try new things, kind of separate from the main fold, and by doing that, we can lead as a student union in the country. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I hope my legacy, when they look at me, does thereafter.
Okay. And so finally, what do you think would be your main difference or something that you change from what David Mendoza-Wolfson has done this year? Sebastian?
I've been fairly happy with a lot of things David Mendoza-Wolfson said. So I think he's done excellently in the enterprise scheme. And I think languages is also something that's really, really good. I would like those to be more communicated. And I'd also like, Mendoza is a great leader, but he sticks to his desk, and I don't see him, coming to society. I don't see him at enough events, and that's same for the sort of VP candidates. So I'd like to see them out there more. I'd like them to reach out to societies, visit their events, sit through the whole platform so they know what they're about. And I feel all too often, SUSU is disconnected from what is its lifeblood, which is the societies. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ben?
I agree. I think David Mendoza-Wolfson has done a fine job, but he's not out there. I think people need to see their president. People complain, not just about David, but about lots of SABs, that they've done nothing all year, which is a lie. They've not done nothing with their year, because they do work hard. But I think that communicating that is important, and you can't just sit behind a computer screen and communicate through the blogs. You need to be out there. You need to talk to students, hear their problems and interests, and say, well, here is what I've done, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because, so I think, yeah, not to prey on Sebastian's point too much, but I do think David Mendoza-Wolfson could have benefited from being more front-facing.
Okay, and then finally then, if you just want to give a little quick roundup of your main points and why people should vote for you, Ben.
People should vote for me because I have a full manifesto of ideas. It's going to take me a year to get through some of them, and some of them will have to be put into a 5-year plan, because we've just finished our 5-year plan to 2015 that Sam Ling left behind. Another one needs putting down to make sure the union continues to thrive, and that beyond my year here, it continues to grow and become more and more successful. Vote for me because you want to see something left behind. You want to look back with pride on your students' union, not just on the year or 3 years that you spent working actively with it. Thank you very much.
Sebastian?
I've already sort of made clear that I've created a society, that I've been in society, and that I know how that kind of process works. So I think I'm already a good candidate because I can respond well to those challenges which people who want to create that sort of thing, how to help them do that. I think in addition to that, I have a very strict manifesto, which is quite purpose-built with failure and success standards in mind, so that you know whether I've failed or whether I've succeeded at the end of my year. I want to prioritize openness. How do I do this? I put forward a handbook which includes all the parts of SUSU, so you don't have to go looking in 100 different places as to where they all are. I want to, help enterprise continue the scheme. I want to create an extra credit system for things you do in societies outside of the classroom. And I also want to help those struggling students who are not doing fully well by creating a better system of special considerations whereby supervisors are more in charge of their students, and by reducing also the current late penalty rate from 10% to 5%. I think that's a really important one. And I think by putting all these things clearly, I hope people vote for me because they can see at the end whether I have succeeded or whether I have failed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that is the end of your debate for president, and that is the end of our debates altogether. Thank you so much for everyone that has come and supported today, and hopefully that has helped you decide who you want to vote for. Thank you.